Hello. Thank you for joining us today for the Esri webinar on how modern GIS supports engineering. I'm Maria Lamas, Marketing Programs Lead for the infrastructure team here at Esri, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. I would like to thank our Esri presenters for joining us today. We have Wojtek Gawecki. He's our Global Account Executive for our AEC team, and Rafael Fernandez, who is also our Solutions Engineer and supports our AEC team. So we're going to get started here. Wojtek, take it away.
Thank you, Maria, and good morning, everybody. In today's webinar, we'll cover three specific topics. First one is going pro, followed by field mobility and collaboration. Those are the three areas that we believe are of interest to the audience here. At Esri, we recognize that all work in engineering field circles around the infrastructure lifecycle. And the process is, of course, iterative, thus information needs to flow to other stages. We also understand that this is not a linear flow. In addition, many of these stages are often done as independent projects with their own life cycles. We believe that we can make the biggest impact at project level. Therefore, our approach is to focus on project life cycle and address all of these stages with either Esri or partner solutions or packages. Project lifecycle support circles on delivering complete projects. Today's economy demands these projects to be delivered faster and under budget. This can be achieved by enhancements in various stages of the project. One of the key areas, however, that can be improved is better collaboration to enable stakeholders to be part of the project team. And this is also affected by improved workflows, changing the way the field connects with the office. GIS enables better workflows and thus influences project success. Another key element of success is strategic partnerships, leveraging alliances to deliver complete solutions and thought leadership. A good example is the new partnership that Esri forged with Autodesk to focus on supporting SMART, combining tools to create and build the assets of the future. This partnership also allows for better collaboration with internal stakeholders. The ArcGIS platform supports the entire project lifecycle. When your operation is small, you may only use desktop software to do mapping or deploy field crews with mobile applications. Others collect and manage large number of imagery, from satellite to drone. Some others go as far as tracking their field crews to assure their safety or to do sophisticated big data analysis. For all these uses, ArcGIS platform offers modern tools and templates to streamline your work and achieve better and faster results. ArcGIS is an integrated web GIS platform. It is designed to provide mapping, analysis, data management, and collaboration capabilities to your workforce. ArcGIS runs in your own infrastructure, secure on your local network, or on a cloud platform such as AWS and Microsoft Azure. ArcGIS is a step toward better, smarter decision-making and a more efficient organization. Just about every problem and situation has a location aspect. The system acts as a platform to enable your people to do amazing things with geography and GIS. It also enables them to do these with amazing simplicity. Designed to serve your entire workforce, ArcGIS enables everyone to easily discover, use, make, and share maps from any device, anywhere, anytime. Being a real system of engagement that provides information to make actionable decisions in real time. It provides greater insights with contextual tools to visualize and analyze your data. And it enables you to collaborate with others and share your insights via maps, apps, and reports. And with that, I turn it over to Maria for some poll questions.
Thanks, Wojtek. We're going to launch a poll here, and we would love your feedback. So our first poll is asking, are you using ArcGIS Pro? And if you can select one of the following, yes, no, or you're not quite ready yet there. So we'd love your feedback if you can just take a moment to select one of the choices there. And it seems about 44% of you are using Pro, 45 aren't, and a few of you there aren't quite ready yet. So thank you for participating in that poll. Our next one is asking you, how do you create your maps for your projects today? Are you using ArcMap? Have you been using ArcGIS Pro, ArcGIS Online, or other? So there's quite a few options for you there. As you respond, we're seeing that majority of you are using ArcMap today. So thank you for your responses. And we have one more for you before we get moving along. The next polling question is, how do you share your project maps with internal and external stakeholders? So majority were using PDFs and web maps following after that. So thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Wojtek.
Thank you, Maria. That's quite interesting. We'll, of course, follow up later on in the year with other webinars and activities where all of you that are interested in discovering a newer, modern ways of creating maps and sharing will be able to find out more about that. Let's start with our first topic of today, which is going pro. Desktop remains one of the key environments in which maps are made, and maps are a fundamental building block for all engineering projects. ArcGIS Pro is the modern desktop application which provides capabilities to manage, analyze, and share data. Even though you said you're using PDF in many cases, I believe that you're probably still using desktop applications to create those maps and then simply share them as PDFs. So let's have a look at some specific details about ArcGIS Pro. ArcGIS Pro is a 64-bit multi-threaded application with a simplified user interface. It's integrated with ArcGIS Online, which enables sharing and access to additional data available online. It also combines 2D and 3D experiences. It allows you to put multiple maps and layouts in the same project window, thus improving the way of working with the project. It obviously has access to all the analytical tools that you would expect in a GIS software, and also provides a very interesting simple search and query option to find tools and data. You can think of ArcGIS Pro as a fusion of applications. Those of you that were using ArcGIS Desktop in the past would recognize that it is a combination of ArcMap, ArcCatalog, ArcGlobe, and ArcScene. Our City Engine is another desktop product from Esri, which is slowly making its way to be integrated better with ArcGIS Pro. Editing is one of the fundamental functions in GIS, and ArcGIS Pro provides great capabilities to do both 2D and 3D editing. It provides them through simplified edit sessions with tools dedicated to a particular type of data that we're editing. It also allows, of course, to edit enterprise geodatabases, it provides group templates, map topology, but it also has a editing experience that is much closer to CAD-like experience. I mentioned analysis, and yes, it has a rich set of analytical tools which are available through either through ribbon of analytical tools that you can see on the slide here, or through separate window similar to what you remember from the previous versions. Majority of tools come from ArcMap, but there are some which are new, which are based on the new environment. It of course includes Model Builder, which is a very popular way of scripting and automating work. Obviously, it has Python window, which is the primary scripting language for all modern applications. And of course, it does network analysis as well as geostatistical and image analysis. Mapping and visualization, however, are obviously the most typical use for engineering companies. ArcGIS Pro provides improved drawing performance and quality of results produced. Because it provides the option to run multiple layouts, it's easier to build different types of maps from one set of data. It has a unified symbol model with transparency and ability to utilize 3D cartography. Also very critical for a lot of linear projects especially is the ability to generate map series. And in some cases, animation is also a component that is of great interest. I mentioned sharing, and sharing is one of the key elements, especially if we're trying to improve collaboration, which I mentioned earlier. ArcGIS Pro allows that, allows you to share web maps and also 3D web scenes. You can also share maps and layer packages or even project packages for easier exchange of data with your stakeholders. It also provides tasks, and tasks are a great way to automate your work, to provide a stepping instructions for performing the typical functions required in all the projects. And with all that, I'll turn it over to Rafael, who can show us some of those in.
Thanks, Wojtek. So today I'm going to give you a high-level overview of ArcGIS Pro. In the poll, it showed that many of you have already looked at the application, and I just want to remind you that this is going to be an initial high-level overview of this application. But in the future, we're going to be running a more detailed dive into ArcGIS Pro and its functionalities. So here I've loaded ArcGIS Pro, and I've opened up a blank project. And the reason why I've opened up a blank project is because this is the screen that many of you are going to start with. And I have a couple options here. If I look up at the ribbon, I have the option to insert a new map. I can set up a new global scene, a local scene, which are 3D web or 3D scenes, or I can import a map. And so I'm actually going to go through and import a map package from ArcMap. So in ArcMap, I've already put together this map, and I've got the content the way that I want to. I have the layout symbolized the way that I need it, and I want to just start beginning to use Pro. So here I am in Pro. I can pan, zoom, look at the content in here, and begin to visualize it. All of that information in that map sheet just came in, no problems. I can see in my catalog pane on the right that we have a new layout in our catalog pane. I can also see that in our maps pane, we have two new maps that were added in there. We have a state overview map and a layers map. Now, Pro is a project-based application, meaning that you can have multiple maps and layouts, databases, and toolboxes all within one application. It's also a connected application. So I'm logged into my ArcGIS Online organization here. I can see that I'm using my identity, Rafael. If I go to the portal, I can begin to search all of the content and rich information that I have within my content and that I've uploaded to ArcGIS Online. I can search to see all the groups that I have access to. I can search the entire ArcGIS Online community, or I can search content from the Living Atlas and look for specific trends and information that I'm looking for. If we search for NOAA, we can actually find all of the information that NOAA has published into the Living Atlas. And we can begin to understand what is going on from a weather standpoint here in this web map. Now, as I mentioned, Pro is a connected application. If I go back to my Maps tab, I have this Asset Management web map. Now, this is a web map in my organization, and I can open it right here. There we go. And so we've added in that web map, and I can see that it's loading in there. And here on my Map tab, I can begin to look at the tooltips and begin to explore this map a little further. I can use the bookmarks that are already in here, and these are bookmarks that have been set up for me from a web map, set up from ArcGIS Online. I can change my base map, and if I want to work offline, I could download this map and take it offline. Now, if we go back to our Insert tab, this is the location where I can begin to add those new maps and add them into the project here. Or if I want to add a task, I could do that in here too. As Wojtek mentioned, a task is a way to streamline a process and create a standard operating procedure, an SOP. So in a future webinar, we're actually going to show you how to create those SOPs and help you understand how to migrate your users to Pro by creating those, or how to build repeatable workflows using them. Now, if I go to my Analysis tab, I can see all those rich analytical tools that we have available to us. In this gallery, I can customize it and identify the tools that we use natively and like to use in this application here. I can also search my toolboxes and identify all the tools that we have available to us in ArcGIS Pro. You'll see that there's a lot of similar tools that we've imported in from ArcMap, and we've actually increased the amount of tools in Pro now. But we've also enabled search throughout the application so that it helps you identify the tool that you need at the right time. So if I search for clip, I can see all the information of where that tool and that word is replicated in these different tools. I can begin to view more information in the View tab, and here I could convert this 2D web map into a 3D web scene. I could link my views if I had multiple maps together, and we've got this new navigator that helps us to navigate around the map, begin to rotate it and see it in a different direction. If I wanted to come and edit this data, I'd go to my editing tab where I can then begin to create features. Now it's important to note that if I were to create a new feature here, I'm not creating it locally on my desktop. I'm actually creating the features and editing them based off of our content in ArcGIS Online. We have that same gallery interface where you can customize the gallery of tools that you want to edit with. And Wojtek mentioned map topology. You turn on map topology right here. If we want to do some image classification analysis, we can do that there. Now, I'm actually going to use this map to share with a customer or a client of ours moving forward. But because this is a field mobile workflow, and I don't want our customer understanding who our field workers are, I'm going to remove those field workers. And then I'm going to come up here and share this information. I have a few different ways that I could share this data. I could share Pro Project package, which would package up all of the maps and data in there. I could upload just this map package, or I could create a web map. So I'm going to create a new web map here. And I'm going to call this Naperville Asset Management Web Map. And I have some options here. I can create a summary. I can add some tags, identify the way that somebody would interact with this data. So this is exploratory. And then I have some options of where I want to save that, if it's locally in my root folder, or if I want to share it with some specific groups. I'm going to keep it private for now internally so that I can get this web map functioning the way that I want to, and then just go through the process of sharing it. So I'm going to share that. And in the meantime, Wojtek is going to tell you a little bit more about ArcGIS Pro.
Thanks, Raphael. So as you remember from the previous discussion, we now saw in real life that Pro has a very modern interface, a great capability for editing maps in a streamlined way with templates and tools dedicated to specific features you're editing, as well as the ability to share those with the audience that you need to share with, and having full control over who gets to see your data. So now we'll switch to Maria for another poll question, I believe.
Great. Thank you, Wojtek and Raphael. Now, the next poll here is going to be, how do you collect your field data? We're going to get into some mobile technology demonstrations here, and we kind of want to get an understanding of what you're currently using to collect your field data. And it looks like those that are responding are leading with Esri Field mobile apps, and following by other. For other, we're very curious as to what technology you are using. So if you're using any other technology outside of Esri mobile apps and you're not using paper, you can go ahead and post in the question dialog box what those tools are that you are using out there. We're just curious seeing what you all are using out there. So majority of you on the webinar are using Esri Field mobile apps. That's exciting to see. We'd like to know how you're using that out in the field. So thank you for participating. I'm going to close this poll here, and we're going to launch one more regarding field data. So as we get started here, which Esri field apps are you using? So for the majority who are using those mobile apps, we'd like to know which one you are using, and if you're using more than one, you can post in the dialog box the multiple apps that you are using. So it looks like a majority are using Collector for ArcGIS. That's our most popular mobile app. So that's very good to see, and we like to see that you guys are leveraging those apps. Followed by Survey 123, and then Explore. So thank you all for participating. We'll wait on a couple more to provide us your feedback. But like I said, we are interested in seeing the technology that you guys are leveraging. So thank you for providing your answers there. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and we're going to go back to Wojtek. So let me push it back to Wojtek here. Thank you, Wojtek.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Maria. That was quite interesting. Well, let's just make sure that we have the screen right. So let's talk about mobility. Rafael just showed us how we can share from ArcGIS Pro to others, and typically those initially in the project stage would be your field crews or maybe your customer who will do some of the work in the field. Esri, as you are well aware, looking on the poll results, has a number of field mobility applications, and would like to talk about them a little bit right now. ArcGIS in the field includes a collection of field apps which provide modern, flexible way to capture information, coordinate workforce, navigate, and monitor progress. Let's start with Workforce for ArcGIS. Workforce for ArcGIS is a fieldwork coordination application. It helps plan and coordinate project work by creating and managing field assignments for field crews. Insights from the office into the status of field assignments allows you to quickly adapt as priorities for fieldwork change. Using devices to carry maps and assignment makes it easy for your field workers to stay organized, report progress, call for assistance, and remain productive. Workforce for ArcGIS helps you manage to-do lists, report location and work status, also navigate directly to your work, as well as capture and update data, which you can do by switching to either Collector for ArcGIS or Survey 123 for ArcGIS, which we will cover in the next few slides. I mentioned navigating to your assignments, and this is done with the Navigator for ArcGIS, which is how you will get your field work to where they need to be. It leverages your own maps, create routes, honoring your specific vehicle types, and works on or offline. It makes complex navigation simple. I mentioned custom navigation maps, and those are created in ArcGIS Pro, where you can make a map that shows your assets, and then you can also create custom navigations through that map for your field crews. Those custom navigations are then shared with mobile devices for easy use in the field. They can also contain predefined routes, so the field crew does not have to create them in the field, but they can simply use what was provided to them. And that, of course, brings them to the site where they need to collect data. And I mentioned two applications to do it. One of them is Survey 123 for ArcGIS, which is a text-based or form-based field collection application. It provides a perfect environment to collect textual data, as well as analyze and share results. It uses the concept of smart forms, which allow you to convert your paper forms to a digital format. And those forms can be easily managed and customized to include sensitive behavior. So you start by asking questions, where you publish them through the form to the field worker, and then the question is used to capture the data, and the data captured follows the logic that was built into the application. And based on those, your decision makers, project managers, can then view the results, analyze the data, and make decisions for the next phases of the project. And of course, as it came out clearly in the polls, Collector for ArcGIS wins the debate on what is the most popular application to collect data in the field. It is a web-based, map-based, and field-based application that runs on many devices. It works on and offline. It provides high accuracy data collection through the use of additional high accuracy GPS devices. When you try to work offline, all the data is transferred to your device. So when you go on the site, you have everything with you that you need. Today, it is widely used in the industry for many applications such as asset inventory, where it improves accuracy and currency of the data being collected, as well as asset maintenance, where our collector for ArcGIS is replacing redundant and inefficient processes and thus improves operational results. And with this, I'll ask Raphael to show us some of those examples.
Thanks, Wojtek. In this section of the webinar, I'm going to show you how you can use ArcGIS Online and these field mobile applications to manage your workforce out in the field. And so we're going to show the end-to-end workflow. Here, I've logged into ArcGIS Online, and I'm the administrator of this organization. And the reason why I've logged in as administrator is because I want to show you some of the back end of workforce and a couple of other applications to make sure that you understand the value that it brings. So here I can see all the content that I have access to in my banner. And if I need to log or sign into Workforce, I just press this Workforce button here. I've preloaded it, and so that we can see what that looks like. So this is the backstage of Workforce, and I can see that we have 8 users, 5 mobile users and 3 dispatchers. Now we can add multiple dispatchers into this Workforce project because we might have multiple different watches of people going out and assigning people to work. We might have multiple mobile workers, so we can see the 5 mobile workers we've assigned there. Now, Wojtek had mentioned that you're able to connect multiple of these apps together and string them together. So here, if I expand this app integration section, I can actually see that I've integrated Collector for ArcGIS with a streetlight inventory map here with this workforce project. I have integrated Navigator and Survey 123 for manhole inspections. I can even expand this and enable location tracking to ensure that we know when our workers are working and to ensure that they're safe out in the field. So if I go back to my overview, let's open up this project and assign somebody some work. So here I am in Workforce. I can see the workers that I have in this project. I can see David Jacob is working, and he hasn't been working for about a year, but he does have an assignment. I can also see that if I want to contact him, I can have his cell phone number right here. I notice that Raphael is the only active worker who is currently working. And so let's actually go through the process and assign him some work. So we want him to go into this area, into this grid here, and create an assignment. Now I want to do an inspection area. I'm going to assign it to Raphael. I'm going to set the priority as critical, the due date as today, and the time at 10:15. I'm going to set the ID as 1, 2, 3, 4. And for the description, I'm going to say, please inspect all streetlights. And if you see a manhole, add it in survey 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to create that assignment. So now I can see that assignment was created. I can see here that we have assigned it to Raphael. And so let's move over to the mobile device and see what the field crew would see in this project here. So I'm going to open up an application that allows me to visualize my cell phone on my screen. Here I can log into Workforce, and I can see I have a new inspection area at D4. Now if I click on D4, I can see here on my mobile phone that I can acknowledge this work, and I see that I can start it. So when I press start, it turns green on my mobile device, and it seamlessly syncs back to the dispatcher's view. I can see now on the left pane there that it's in progress and Raphael has acknowledged it. I can then go through and begin to navigate to this asset. So here we're signing in and it's telling us we have an update. I haven't updated my phone yet. And we're going to start the navigation. Yes, I know we shouldn't look at our phones, but if you can't hear this over the webinar, but actually Siri is giving me turn-by-turn directions of how to access and get to this one specific asset. So here, we're going to make this sharp left turn. And yes, we do want to return to Workforce. Now, when I'm in Workforce, I can also see that some information has been added here for me in the notes. Please inspect all streetlights, and if you see a manhole, add it in Survey 123. So we can begin to collect an assignment. I'm logging into the app and it already knows exactly where I'm located, so it's easy to collect new features. I can see that there's an existing feature here, and so I can just begin to edit the existing information that we have. Like the distance to the top of the pole is actually 16 feet. I can then add an image. And for this image, let's add a picture of the wonderful Wojtek Gawecki. And then press update. And those changes will be synced back to the system. Now that we have that, I can also launch Survey 123. So here, let's launch Survey. Now, the difference between Collector and Survey 123 is really the collection type and the collection method. So here, I can see in Survey 123 that we're looking at a form-centric view. I can update the weather, change the facility ID to 1234. I can see that it's already located us on the map of where we should be. And because I'm using a mobile device, I can do something like this. This is 2 feet from the curb. And so it automatically updates for me. I can also change the cover type to watertight, and then the materials are made out of brick. Now again, because we're on a mobile device, I can add an image. So we'll take another picture of Wojtek. And then I can choose to update this. Now, because we're having some connectivity issues and I'm actually offline and not online, I have the option to complete the survey now or later, and it will push it up to ArcGIS Online. So I'm going to send this later. Let's go back to Workforce and then say that we're finished with this workflow. Now I can see that my to-do list is empty, and if I refresh it, nothing comes up. And if we go back into the Workforce app, I can also see that that information has been updated so that the dispatcher still has that same view to visualize that the data has been completed and the mobile workflow is done. Now, if you remember that map that I had shared previously, we wanted to share it with another organization, with our clients. So if I go to my groups, I actually have a Naperville data share group, and I've shared that asset management map right here. Now, if I log into arcgis.com and I can sign in to John user, and this is our user over at Naperville, we can log in there and I can see that same data share group. Now, to prove that I'm actually in a different organization, I'm going to go to the home gallery and see that we have a completely different banner, which is the city of Naperville. So now I can log into that group, access all that same information that we saw in that previous group in the other organization, and here I can view this dashboard. Let's open it in the browser. And what this dashboard is a visualization of all that data that's getting collected out in the field. So here I'm in that dashboard, and I can see here in the bottom left that we have a field workers widget and that there are no features that are identified here. And that's because we removed those field workers from that web map. But I can use my bookmarks to pan and zoom and look at new assets as well. So if I go to my pole and streetlights here, I can see that now we have some new widget or new icons that come up in this legend widget here. You can see all the icons that are available at this scale. I can change my view here and see the total assets that have been collected and identify how many poles have been collected or streetlights. I can even then see some information about each of those streetlights and those poles. Now let's pan and zoom a little bit to visualize that new streetlight that we collected previously. Here it is. And now I can see that image of Wojtek that was updated right here. Back to you, Wojtek.
Thanks, Raphael. We were able to see how mobile apps work together as one collection to enable you to assign work, create maps that people can use in the field, take them to your assigned work, and collect data in either textual form or mapping form. The navigation is a very powerful way to get to your work, because it's not only using the street network, but also uses your own collection of your own assets, and it can find the best path to those assets. And those assets, as you can imagine, in most cases are not available on any maps. Therefore, if you didn't have Navigator capability, you could only find the best way to a certain address or a certain location, and you would have to know where that asset you're looking for is located. Raphael also mentioned the collaboration, which is the ability to share some of your results and maybe the entire project, depending on what your situation is, with your stakeholders. And in the last example, he showed us how to share the result of a survey with the external stakeholder, a customer, who would want to see the results, see the status, or maybe even make comments on some of the results to improve the delivery of the project in a timely manner. We at Esri recognize that this is one of the critical needs for engineering companies in their project work, and offer a project delivery system concept, which is really a way to support your collaboration by allowing you to scale and grow your GIS to include other stakeholders, be internal or external. It is based on the idea that instead of using capital expenses, you can use project budgets to buy those necessary components and deliver the project data to customers. It integrates with your WebGIS, which is a fundamental set of building blocks that you have in your office already, and delivers focused apps to your customers. Those apps are something that you can add to the data that you shared. So in the last example, you saw Raphael simply sharing some of the data collected, but you can imagine that in the same time, that ArcGIS Online organization that the John user was accessing could also include some additional applications to do further analysis of the data or even provide some additional functionality. And of course, this approach automates and decreases your overhead and time to deploy. And it does that because it's really an ArcGIS Online subscription. It is an ArcGIS Online subscription that comes packaged with 2 level 2 named users and 8 level 1 named users, which is an ideal setup for an engineering company to run the project and manage this site, providing viewing access to stakeholders, to customers. Of course, being a regular ArcGIS Online subscription, it can be extended and expanded by adding additional users of both types to provide the functionality needed for a specific project. The project subscription, this project subscription is designed to work during a project duration. So at the end of the project, you will need to close the subscription, ideally turn it over to your customer, who will then take ownership and continue using it for its future needs. This approach supports customer collaboration and communication throughout the project lifecycle, and as such is a great enhancement to your project work. And with this, I will turn it over to Maria for some final discussions and hopefully answer some questions.
Great, thank you, Wojtek and Raphael. Very great presentations there. So we're going to dive into the Q&A. We'll go into some of the ArcGIS Pro questions, and then we'll follow with some mobile app questions that we had from the demos. So for the first Pro question, we had a question from Tony. Tony's asking, with the release of ArcMap 10.6, what is the life cycle of the map? So he assumes the ArcGIS Pro is going to replace due to its 64-bit capabilities. Can you speak to that, either Raphael or Wojtek?
Yes, so our ArcGIS Pro is the modern application, which is the only application that Esri puts the new developments in. ArcGIS desktop with ArcMap and ArcCatalog and all the other applications that you're well aware of still exists and will be supported for the foreseeable future. However, no new development will be done in those environments. So you should definitely consider, if you're not already switched to ArcGIS Pro, you should definitely consider going to ArcGIS Pro and utilizing the benefits of the 64-bit environment.
Great, thank you, Wojtek. One additional question for ArcGIS Pro. Raphael, you went over some of the capabilities and functions there within the application. At a high level, what are the new tools that have been introduced?
There's a lot of new tools. So if we're talking about just geoprocessing tools alone, I can say that all the new development that we're putting into new GP tools are in Pro now. There are several tools for multidimensional support, for spatial analysis, 3D visualization, like interactive slicing and visualizing content within 3D information, almost getting to something that might look like a voxel viewer. There's new network analysis tools, and there's several tools throughout the application. I think I'd be hard pressed to explain exactly every tool without knowing which industry we're supporting.
Great, thank you, Raphael. Moving along to our mobile questions, we had quite a few. We received one from Paul. Thank you, Paul. He's saying, as a civil engineer, most of the data I work with is Trimble equipment. And this is feedback to the poll. So thank you for that feedback. In addition to that, we have questions about Navigator. Is Navigator a cost app, or does it cost to use it? Wojtek?
Yes, Navigator is a cost app. It requires a subscription license similar to some other applications from Esri, like Insights.
Thank you, Wojtek. Additionally, Michael posted a question. He's asking, can I add existing data from the Geo database to validate the data on the mobile apps and then send back to the server to validate the field data?
So what I would recommend there, Michael, is to use Survey123, and there you can embed some logic using Excel through the XLS process to validate whether or not data is true or false, or if it's the right information. Another way that you could do that is by doing utilizing Geo Event Processor to actually bring in a live stream of all those data coming in and validate it there, and then send an update back to that surveyor.
Great, thanks, Raphael. We also received another question from Rose, and she's interested if ArcGIS Workforce works offline.
It doesn't work offline in this current release, but it should be in the next release of our ArcGIS Workforce for ArcGIS.
Great, that's exciting. I know that capability is going to be needed by a lot of folks, so thank you, Raphael. Now we have a question regarding AC project delivery. And when did it get released? And in addition, is it in place for an ASP license?
The project delivery subscription was released about a month ago, so it's fairly fresh. And no surprises that many of you are not familiar with it yet. It is not a direct replacement of ASP license, but it addresses a very similar need. The ASP license is meant for, number one, it was invented in the previous versions of our technology, which did not use and support web maps and new modern web mapping capabilities. So you would build your own application and serve it off the ArcGIS server. ArcGIS Online replaced that in a way, but the project delivery subscription is designed to support one specific project. ASP model is used to support you as an engineering company offering capability on an ongoing basis. So think of it as you come up with an application which you then make available to anybody, and you sell it to customers that want to, on an ongoing basis, come and utilize that application. That's different than delivering a project. Hope this answers the question.
Thanks, Wojtek. We have another question regarding to mobile. Let's see, Raphael, would you be able to talk a little bit about the offline capabilities? This question's coming from Tony, specifically for ArcGIS for Collector.
Yeah, so Tony, in ArcGIS for Collector, you can take, when you're online, you can take a map offline. So before you ever even leave the office, you would identify the different types of data that you would collect and the maps that you'd be utilizing. You would take them offline, update that map, and then push when you're back online, much like we saw in that survey 1, 2, 3 environment.
Great.
I hope that answers the question.
Great, thanks, Raphael. Now we have a question regarding BIM integration. Can anyone, either Wojtek or Raphael, speak to that?
Yeah, sure. Michael, so there is going to be an engineering summit coming up soon in the near future, and we are going to have a presentation from Autodesk specifically about the BIM and ArcGIS integration. I know in ArcGIS Pro 2.2, we will be integrating Revit support, and so you'll be able to grab a Revit file, drag and drop it into ArcGIS Pro, and begin to visualize that in your Pro project. And so we'll be able to connect that information. Moving forward, we'll be able to even share that data so that multiple people can get access through the ArcGIS platform and visualize it there too. So if you want to learn more about the BIM story specifically, I highly recommend taking a moment and signing up for the engineering summit. That's the Sunday before the UC.
Details will follow soon.
Great, thank you both. Now we have similar questions for Survey 1, 2, 3, and Collector. I'll combine these two. Raphael, maybe you can answer this. Will Survey 1, 2, 3, and Collector be merged into one app, or will Collector for ArcGIS have the same data entry similar to Survey 1, 2, 3?
So from my understanding, the development teams are not thinking about bringing those applications together. But what we have seen is that we've seen a lot of cross-pollination between the applications. And so moving forward, there's going to be a new release of Collector where you're going to see some of that functionality of Survey 1, 2, 3 come into Collector, and vice versa. Some of that Collector information and functionality come into Survey 1, 2, 3. But it really depends on your user base and who wants to use which application for what. And so we don't think that there's going to be one mega app for data collection, but instead these two applications will come closer together.
Great, thank you. That concludes most of the Q&A. So if we did not answer your question, we will have a post document available on GeoNet. We do have an AEC GeoNet group, and that will be available there for those very specific detailed questions. That way you guys can have those resources there. We do like to combine the majority of questions into one. So moving along, as Raphael mentioned, we do have an engineering summit this summer in San Diego. July 8th will be the engineering summit. It is part of the Esri UC. So if you attend the engineering summit, it adds the Monday and Tuesday that you can attend. But if you are already registered for UC, go ahead and sign up for that additional day and come a day earlier. It's going to be a focused AEC presentations, AEC thought leaders. Our AEC team from Esri will be there available to answer your questions. So these exciting announcements that we made today, such as project delivery, the BIM integration that we have coming, that's all going to be there, and the resources will be there for you to get in touch with your peers and AEC thought leaders. So moving along, To conclude, we want to thank you for attending our webinar. Thank you for posting your questions, engaging with us. We hope that this information was valuable to you. As a reminder, we do have the webinar series coming after the Engineering Summit in the fall. If you have any questions related to today's content, here's the contact info if you want to reach out directly to our Esri presenters. So with that, that concludes our webinar. And again, we thank you for joining us today.